Welcome, Bronco Nation. It has been an incredible offseason so far from a perspective of looking at Boise State football and for the channel itself. I've had a ton of just incredible guests, former Boise State players, current Boise State players, former coaches. It's been an incredible offseason for the channel. But in the midst of all of that, I've got to say there is one video that I've been looking forward to doing maybe more than any of the other ones, because it's been one I've been trying to set up for a while, and it's the interview that we're doing today. I have Jaylon Henderson on with me today, former Boise State quarterback, current quarterback extraordinaire for the German Football League, the Potsdam Royals. We are going to be talking about his time at Boise State, that crazy 2019 season and everything that transpired there. We're going to talk about him moving to playing internationally, playing in Japan, playing in Germany. And we're just going to talk about what's been going on with the Jaylon Henderson experience so far through his college career and up through his current professional time. So this is going to be a fantastic interview. I cannot wait to have this discussion with Jaylon. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Yeah, looking forward to it, and I'm really excited. So thank you.
This should be a great interview for anybody who is maybe unaware, and there shouldn't be many, but if there's anybody out there who is unaware, Jaylon was the Boise State quarterback from 2018 to 2019. He wore number 9 for the Broncos, 1,080 yards passing, 12 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions in the 2019 season, also 156 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. Prior to that, he had a wide college experience before he came over to Boise State. Started off with UTSA in 2015, and then went over to Trinity Valley College, where he also threw for over 1,000 yards, had over 300 yards rushing, and then joined the Broncos in 2019. So we're going to start off talking about his journey to the blue. And I'll also just kind of address the elephant in the room. Quite literally, I'm in the middle of a move right now, so had to kind of throw up this makeshift studio space. So I appreciate everybody's understanding with that, but this is going to be a great discussion. So Jaylon, let's just start talking about your journey to Boise State. What did you learn about yourself going through Trinity Valley? You took this, different route than a lot of people. You went to UTSA, and you went down JUCO, and you came back over to Boise State eventually. What did you learn about yourself while you were going through that process?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. For me, coming from a Division I level, then going to almost the bottom of the bottom in JUCO. It really shows your true character, and you really learn a lot about yourself. More importantly, what I learned about myself is, how to understand where your feet are. And really how to mold yourself into a leader. So when I was there, whenever I was at UTSA, I was one of the young guys, and then was at UTSA 2.5 years, and I get to Trinity Valley, and it's junior college is only a 2-year experience. And so I'm already coming in, I'm the older guy, and it's the first time I've been really, in that leadership road or in that leadership role as far as college level. And so I had a lot of young guys there, had a lot of experiences that, helped me really understand the importance of being a leader and rallying a group of guys around you. And it also helped me, understand adversity, understand, not everything is going to be perfect sunshines and rainbows. We had a lot of tough times there in JUCO. Actually had, 2 of my teammates pass away one morning that we were supposed to be at practice. There was a lot that we went through. We didn't have the best living situations. But at the end of it all, all those guys were all, as close as you can get. We all have respect for each other, and even that coaching staff there that was there, we'll never forget those experiences. And so it was really just for me, just living in the moment and trying to grasp and learn and grow as much as I can. And it helped me understand, the importance of how to handle adversity in a positively effective way. So.
Well, after your time there at Trinity Valley College and getting to learn those life lessons that would then pay dividends throughout the rest of your career, you got a call from Boise State, and they pulled you over to the Blue. Talk a little bit about what drew you to Boise State. What stood out to you? Was there anything specific about their culture or the program that really attracted you to Boise State, and how did you eventually end up going to the Broncos?
Yeah, so it's actually a funny story. So my first ever, well, really, whenever I was at JUCO, we would always have our games earlier on Saturdays. And, as any Boise State fan knows, they're typically one of the last games to come on ESPN at night. And so after my games, my parents would come up to watch my JUCO games. And after the games, I would just go back to their camper and we just watch whatever game was on. And it was always Boise State. I remember seeing Brett Rippon all the time, like having no idea that that's where I would go or anything like that. Like I just remember, oh yeah, okay, I know who Brett Rippon is. I remember watching Leighton Vander Esch, a lot of Alexander Madison. Can't remember the other running back's name that was there in the 2018 season. But I remember watching them play just about every single weekend, and I didn't really know that I would ever have any connection to them. It was just like, oh, this is the only game on. We're gonna watch it. Well, as I was getting towards the end of my time in JUCO, my very first offer from high school was at a school called Eastern Washington, and that coach happened to be Zach Hill. So after I was done with JUCO, I reached out to every single connection that I knew. I'm literally DMing every single coach that I've ever talked to, saying, "Hey, coach, here's my film. I've got this many years of eligibility. Would love to come and be a part of your program." I even went to Baylor because I live about an hour, 2 hours away from Baylor in Texas. So I even went up to Baylor, sat in the office with the coaches, and they were telling me, we don't have any scholarships right now, but if you come here, if you can get accepted into the school, we'll be able to put you on scholarship in the summer. And so I went through that whole process. I did a whole bunch of college visits in Houston, Rice, U of H, Baylor, did a whole bunch of college visits, and I had actually started enrolling in classes in Baylor because that's where I was going to go play. I was going to be a Baylor Bear. And it's funny because I reached out to so many schools, and the one coach that really messaged me back was Coach Zach Hill. And he was like, "Hey, Jaylon, glad to get your message. I'm no longer at Eastern Washington. I'm actually at Boise State now," which is I had already known. But he was like, "We love your film and we'd love to have you. The only problem is that today's Friday and classes start next Monday." And so he was just like, "You're not going to be able to get up here on a visit or anything." And by this point, I'm already enrolled into Baylor. I've already have my student accounts, already have my student ID. Like I'm literally a Baylor Bear. There's a picture of me and my dad on the field. I'm throwing up the Baylor signal, the hand sign. I'm going to be a Baylor Bear. I'm excited. I'm celebrated. And then Coach Hill tells me, "Hey, we'd love to have you. Let's get you on the phone and have Coach Arson talk to you." Well, Coach Arson ends up giving me an offer that night. And he says the same thing. He's like, I think the day it was either a Thursday or a Friday, and classes started Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that Monday.
Oh my God.
And so, Coach Harson, he gave me the offer, and I went ahead and committed on the spot. And that Saturday or Sunday, I packed up four suitcases and headed to a place called Boise, Idaho that I had no idea about, didn't know what I was getting myself into. I was just a young 20-year-old, 21-year-old kid. Was just young and adventurous, and I just knew that there was blue turf. I didn't know what else was coming with it. But yeah, I was like, "Yep, I'll go up there." And so within probably 3 days, I made my decision to, come and commit to Boise State, and that's where my journey began at Boise. So
that has got to be one of the craziest recruiting stories I've ever heard, especially in today's age when there's so much more marketability, and it's like it's wild college football capitalism out there. Everyone's doing all these crazy visits, and then they're transferring multiple times within school. I've heard a lot about early enrollees. I don't know if I've ever heard of a last minute Monday morning enrollee. How did you kind of carve out a role for yourself on this team? Because obviously, you're not the starter. Bachmeier's there, and then Cord, and then you're playing that third string role there. But you're a competitor. You're someone who's always wanted to give your best and be part of the program. So how did you carve out your role to be an active contributor to help the team find success?
That was something that was really instilled by the coaches and something that I learned from guys like Brett Rippon as well. It was one of those things where, Coach Harsin always said, star in your role, whatever that is. If that's, being the guy to just make sure everybody's happy around the team, even though you don't play much, just make sure everybody's happy, be a good guy, keep those friendships bonded with each other. If your role is to be the guy to give water to somebody, if your role is to be the guy to cut up film so that the coaches like just star in whatever that is. And so, I had a really good example of Brett Rippon and his role on his team whenever I was there my first year. And it had really helped me understand, like no matter what your role is, you have to be the best at that role as possible to win a championship, to get to the championship, to go win the championship. It's pretty difficult to lose a championship if you don't have any cancer on the team. And what I mean by cancer on the team is, guys are pissed off because they're not getting their piece of the pie. Well, to win a championship, everybody's got to buy into whatever part of the pie they bring to the table. You've got to buy in to that and you've got to own it, no matter what that is. And it might not be what you desire, but doing things like having hard work, a good work ethic, being a good person around the facilities, just, keeping your mouth shut and just doing the work, right? The blue collar mentality. Boise, things like that don't go unnoticed. So it was just, yeah, one of those things that I learned from the coaching staff that was really heavily instilled by the coaches. And, it was instilled by a lot of former athletes, a lot of current NFL players that went through Boise State. It's just a type of tradition that has been there. And so, was it tough at first? Not really, because I'm a type of guy where, I am a team player. I buy into whatever the overall direction of the team, as long as we win. And I'm a very big winner, and I pride myself in wanting and expecting to win a championship every single time that I enter a season. And so, whatever my role is for that season, I'm going to be the best that I can at it. So.
Well, you put your head down, you got to work, you embraced that blue collar attitude as a team player, and the season kicked off. And you guys went on a crazy run there. Bachmeier starting, I think you guys won 7 games in a row. And then Bachmeier on a run against Hawaii, he gets a hit pointer, and he's out for a game. Ford comes in and plays, and then Bachmeier comes back, and he gets hurt again. I think it was on a sack against San Jose State. And then Ford comes back in and they gets hurt versus Wyoming. And suddenly you go from third on the depth chart to being the quarterback Boise State is turning to after the Wyoming game. Can you talk about obviously you never want to see a teammate hurt and you never want to be playing in that circumstance, and that's how you end up playing. But the circumstances happened, and just like the mysterious circumstances ushered you to the blue, now those circumstances are giving you that chance to start at Boise State, a school that, again, you enrolled in the Monday that classes started, basically. Can you talk about those conversations with the coaches when they came to you after the Wyoming game, after Ford's injuries were shown they wasn't going to be able to come back, and said, hey, you're our guy? Can you talk about those conversations and what that week of prep was like, knowing you were going to start on the blue?
Well, that's a great question as well. Something that you learned going to Boise State as well is, no matter where you are on the depth chart, you've got to prepare like you're a starter. And, some guys can either take that as it sounds and actually prepare like a starter, or some guys can, sort of not take that as it sounds and not prepare like a starter. The thing that's unique about Boise State is if you're one of those guys that's, not going to prepare like a starter, you won't be there long. And that's just the way the business is. Everybody there has a mindset, that their moment, that their number can be called at any time. And so for me, coaches came in and were like, hey, we're going to go ahead with you. We trust in you. You've been preparing well since you first got here. You're ready to go. And, for me, that was a moment that I had felt relief because I believed in myself. But it was one of those things where you just had to wait until that opportunity came. And if it never came, oh well. But if it did, make the most of it. And so, that opportunity came, and the one thing I wanted to do was make the most of whatever that was, and do the best that I could for the team so that we could be successful. So,
Well, that moment came versus New Mexico, number 21 Boise State facing off against the Lobos, and you went out and threw for 292 yards, 3 touchdowns, and you had two 50-yard plus passes as well. It wasn't your first time playing on the blue. You'd been there before. You played, kind of backup role time or, extra time at the end of the game. You played significant reps versus Hawaii. You had a great game there after playing in the second half of versus Hawaii. But this was your first time stepping down as a starter, knowing that the keys to the offense are in your hand. And while it's a team sport, the quarterback determines a lot of the outcome of that game. Can you talk about the emotions and what was going through your head as you step out on the blue and run that first play as the starter at Boise State?
absolutely. For me, it was like, finally, hell yeah, here we go. Let's go. I get to play. And happens to be senior night. So my entire family's here. So usually it's just mom and dad that comes to the game. But I think my sister and her husband came to the game. And so I was like, all right, here we go. And I knew I had all of my buddies at the house watching. And for me, like when I know that a lot of my buddies are watching, that just puts a different element in my mind. And I just like, I want to play even better. It adds confidence to me. And, everybody around me was pretty confident in me as well. But yeah, I was super ecstatic. It was, I would say, very fun. It's why you play the game, to play in front of big crowds, to play in front of wonderful people, play on national television. It's why you play the game. And so, yeah, I was excited and confident, and I had prepared, like I was a starter since just about when I first got there. That was something that I learned early on, and so I was kind of nervous, but not really, because I was like, I'm ready for this. Like I've prepared for this. I've just been waiting to show everybody else that, and now that I have that opportunity, here we go, baby. Show it up.
Well, you guys went on a 3-0 streak there and ended up playing in the Mountain West Championship game. And so here you are, like I said, a guy that ended up on the program on a Monday morning, and then found your way into third place on the depth chart. Now suddenly you are the starter at Boise State. You guys go 3-0, and you're at the Mountain West Championship game. And you, like you said, you always wanted to go out there and play for a championship every single time. And you've had those opportunities to support for a championship, but now you leading the team are stepping out to go and win a Mountain West championship and have an opportunity to go host that trophy. Can you talk a little bit about what was going through your head as you guys roll up to play Hawaii for the second time that season?
Yeah, that was, it was one of those things where, we had done our preparation a lot. We had already played them. I had already gotten playing experience against them. Their coach, Coach Rolovich at the time, really good coach. But, it was more so, it wasn't about them. It was about us. And how were we going to go and execute? How were, we going to play, given, sure, the weather was a little cold and a little rainy. Championship game, we had just lost the championship previous year before. National television, right? It was about us. It was a lot more about us than it was about them. And when you have, 100, 120 guys or so, including staff, very confident in each other, it makes going out there and playing a lot less worrisome, a lot easier. And so, for me, I was pretty confident in the preparation that I had put in for myself, but pretty confident in the preparation and the highs and the lows that the entire team had to go through, right? Not just through this game, but the entire season. I mean, we went through 3 quarterbacks and still remained undefeated, during the regular season. Like we had to go through a lot of adversity. And this is stuff that, it sort of it starts before the season's even here. It starts in the off season whenever we're running decks in the stands and we've got alumni coming back to watch us run 20 decks in the stands at 6 in the morning. Like it's little things like this. It's little things like, making sure the locker room is clean, making sure that in the off season everybody's touching the line, not everybody is going short, making sure that everybody is showing up to class, making sure that everything, every little detail in our process of how we go about our business is perfect. Not just okay, it's perfect. Okay. And so, I mean, it was coming into the championship game, it was, we knew that we were going to go there and we knew that we were going to win. And we just had to go and put it on film and we actually had to play the game. But we knew that we were going to go and win us a championship. So, we'd gone through too much to feel differently.
Well, you knew you were going to win, and you went out and you made that dream a reality. You were the offensive MVP for the Mountain West Championship game, 20 of 29 passing, 212 yards, 2 touchdowns. You put another touchdown in on the ground, and you are now holding not just that MVP trophy, but the Mountain West Championship trophy after everything that you've been through, the journey from UTSA to JUCO to Boise, everything that had transpired. Like you said, third on the depth chart, to hosting the Mountain West Championship trophy as the game MVP. Can you talk about what that was like looking back on everything you had accomplished in that moment?
Yeah, absolutely. That was it was a pretty emotional moment for me, for myself and for my family. Of course I was excited to be on the winning team, but I don't think, everybody else, and everybody's got their own journey, right? But I don't think, a lot of people understood the journey that I had gone through. And like I said, everybody has their own journey. And so however you feel about that is how you feel. Um, but it was, a dream. And I think about that moment pretty often. I think about it all the time. It's one of the best moments that's ever happened in my life. But it was so great just to see my parents right there at the front and see how proud they were, given everything that I had gone through. And yeah, I mean, it was fantastic. I enjoyed that day. It's literally my favorite memory looking back on anything. And it's solely due to the fact that, I had to go through a lot of adversity ever since I had arrived as a freshman at 17 years old at University of Texas, San Antonio. It just to end my last football game with the trophy, and the MVP. It was something that I always dreamed of and something that I could see happening, but I didn't know if I would ever get the opportunity. And I knew that if I did get the opportunity, this was my one shot to make this dream that I've had a reality. And so, finally got the opportunity to do that in my senior year of 5-year college career, um, on national television in a really big stadium. And so, yeah, it was really emotional moment for myself and my family. And, something I'll never forget, obviously.
Well, after Boise State, you decided that you weren't done fighting for championships and wanting those opportunities to host trophies, and you decided you weren't going to hang up the cleats. And in 2021, you ended up signing with the Las Vegas Knights Indoor Football League. Can you talk about how that opportunity came about? And was there ever a time before that you thought maybe you'd be moving on from football?
That's a great question. So as far as, Las Vegas Nighthawks, I'll talk about moving on from football first and then get to that because it sort of ties in. I worked as a financial advisor, there in Boise with a great Boise alumni, great diehard fan. And he was a really, really great mentor for me. He really taught me a lot of things about the sort of, um, financial side of life, and that's actually what I went to college for. But for me, I felt like I still had some gas in the tank, and that was when I had got an opportunity to go play arena. It for me, it was just like, I felt like I didn't really get I didn't give myself the best opportunity to make it to the next level with how COVID came and getting our pro day canceled, etc. Like I just felt like maybe if I don't try, then I will always sort of just live with it. Like, what if I at least tried to do this? And so I knew that the work that I was doing will be here, right? But football, it will not be here. Football is going to end and be over someday. And so I'm 23, 22 years old at the time. And like, why not give it a shot? And so got an opportunity to go to Vegas and play for a brand new arena football team in the Las Vegas Nighthawks. Talked to a coach and my agent at the time, and went there. I started 4 games, and I played 4 games before I got another opportunity. For me, I was loved where I was at, loved the position that I was in. It was sort of a business decision that I had to make for myself to then go to Japan. Um, but yeah, to answer your question, there was a time that I was done because I was like, yeah, cool. I'm okay with being done and just working. Life happens. And so me just being done was just a little tiny phase. And then I was ready to go again. And here we are 4 years later. And now I'm living in an entirely different country. I'm living in a place that I never thought I would ever in my life be at, but I'm enjoying every second of my life. I love it so dearly, and I get to experience things that I'll be able to tell my children one day that, yeah, Dad did that. Yeah, Dad used to live here. Dad knows what it's like to do this. That's something that's really special to me. So
Well, you mentioned it already. You got that call to go over to Japan and play a unique opportunity, a unique version of the sport. You're playing American football outside of America. And it's not something that a lot of people get to go and do. Can you talk about how that came about? Again, it's not something that everybody goes and do. And now you're in Japan playing American football. Can you talk about how that opportunity came about for you?
So this is another crazy, just once in a million opportunity. So one of my buddies that I went to University of Texas at San Antonio with plays linebacker. His name is Leslie Maru. We played at UTSA and then obviously went our different directions. He finished at UTSA, and then he played in the CFL for a little bit. And at the time, so he's from Wichita, Kansas, but he's Japanese as well. He's actually from Japan, but he like grew up in Wichita, Kansas. At the time, he had just happened to be sleeping on a couch at his personal trainer's house in Vegas. And so I was like, "Oh, Les, what like come to the gate to come to my game, bro? Like you live here, I live here. Like let's be home, like let's hang out." We haven't seen each other. We talk pretty often, but we hadn't seen each other in probably 2 years while I was at Boise. Like we had kept up with each other from afar. But he lived in Vegas at the time, and he would come and watch my games. We would hang out. Like it was just really, really, really special friend of mine and one that'll last forever. But he had been playing for a team in Japan called Panasonic. And so in the CFL season, he plays CFL. Then after his season, he plays like 3 or 4 games in Japan for a team called Panasonic. Well, he was in my ear as I was playing arena. He was like, Jaylon, you should come play in Japan. Like, and I'm like, bro, I'm not going to Japan. Like, what? The furthest place out of the country I've ever been to is probably like Jamaica, the Caribbean, like Mexico, maybe. Like, that's the furthest I've been, out of the country. I was like, bro, I'm not going to Japan. Like, what? Why would you even ask me this? And he's like, no, bro, like, just try it. Like, and then he's talking about like how much they pay and et cetera. And then I was just seeing how much I was getting paid in arena, and I was like, I don't want to do it, but I mean, I guess I didn't really want to, but it was a time where I just needed to make a living for myself. I had like no money, and so I went ahead and was like, "All right, bro, I'll go to Japan." And sure enough, I played my last game. We were 4 games into the season. I went to my coach, Coach Davis, and I sat down with him and literally bawled my eyes out crying talking to my parents because, I'm the starter. This is like my first time being a starter on a professional level. I liked all the guys that were around me, had a great living situation. Like the only thing that was lacking there was the compensation. Like I couldn't make enough to live. And I was just like, man, like I'm scared to do this. I don't want to go, but like I need more money. Like I need to make money to be able to do things that I want in life. And he was like very understanding and was like, no, man, like this is your journey. You got to do what you got to do for you. And I was like, all right, you're right. And yeah, that's how I ended up in Japan. So it was by the luck that my friend had just so happened to be training in Las Vegas at the time that my season was going on there. And then he got me a connection with the coaches, and then, yep, rest is history.
Playing the game internationally there, like you said, a brand new experience for you, for someone who had never really traveled much outside the U.S. before, and now you are getting paid to play American football in Japan. Can you talk a little bit about what that's like playing the game internationally in Japan? We'll talk about the Potsdam Royals here in a second, but just what that was like playing American football in Japan. What's the kind of general awareness of the sport over there, and what's kind of the fan buy-in, and then just the type of athletes that you're playing with over there. I mean, I'm assuming a lot of former college guys from America over there as well. Can you talk a little bit just about the general experience of playing American football in Japan?
Yeah, it was so football anywhere you go. In my experience is always just football. You've got a 100-yard field, 110-yard field, and two field goals, 5-yard lines on every 5 yards, same rules. As far as the football aspect of it, it's the exact same. As far as the culture, very different. Culture is very different. I would say that it's a place that I think everybody should at least visit one time before they die, just so they can see a different way of how people live life. You don't necessarily get to see that I mean, you go to Europe, yeah, you can see that, but like the further away from the US that you get, you really can see it. Like, wow, this is how you guys live here. Like, this is wild. Like, I remember just, walking outside of my house and I felt like I was in a dream and like all of my money there was just fun bucks and just like, this isn't real. Like, I'm living in a real life anime right now. Um, and then as far as like, the football atmosphere, I would say, obviously football is not their number one sport there. But like in our championship, we had 40,000 fans in the stands. Played at the Tokyo Dome, completely sold out the Tokyo Dome. It's pretty big, but it's just different. Like in America, or even here in Germany, like the fans are loud and they're woo horns and drums and big play happens and little Timmy is going nuts, and then you have Uncle Billy about to fight somebody in the state. Like it's crazy. Whereas in Japan, it's literally just clapping, and it's like they don't really understand. I guess the English for them is different, and so like when the announcer would say something, it would be delayed until it got translated. So it's like touchdown, and then they would say touchdown in Japanese, and then people would just clap. That's it. No horns, no screaming. It's just clapping. And so I'm like, whoa, this is like different. And then like after the game, you're doing a bow. There's a lot of the culture there is built on heavily respect.
Right.
So everything is utmost respect. You don't have players showboating. You don't have the player scores, gives the ball right to the ref, runs back to the sideline before the game. You take bows. It's just very, very different. For me, though, I absolutely loved Japan. I loved it a lot. Wouldn't say I want to live there long term, just because um, I've grown up in America my entire life. So
Right.
the things that I've seen my whole life, and then you go to Japan, like I was in Japan 7 months, and I came back to America with my eyes so wide because I was like it was almost so overwhelming. I was like, wow, like people like I can't believe I like it gave me a new perspective on life, and I really found out like who I was as a person. But it gave me a like Like I had gotten used to the Japanese culture and how they handle situations and the hospitality whenever you go to a restaurant, anywhere, the cleanliness of where it's at. And then you come to America, and I'm not saying America is bad by any means. It's just different. You know, it's very different. The the hospitality and the way how people are in American, it's like stuff okay that's in America that's just laid back would just be not okay in Japan. For example, like when I grew up playing football, my coaches yelled and cussed at me and yelled and screamed. If I were a Japanese person and I came to America for the first time and I saw that, I would be traumatized because like nobody's even raising their voice at all. Like I would be like,
Gosh.
whoa, like I would be so scared. Um, so it's just very different, but you know, I'm super excited or super happy that I got that experience and that, you know, I'm gonna forever be able to say, yeah, I've lived in Japan for before. So
Well, you adapted to that difference and you overcame any stumbling blocks, and you had an incredible season. Won Rookie of the Year there. Went to the Rice Bowl. That was the only loss of the season, and it was a nail biter. You guys almost pulled that off. But then you had another opportunity arise to go play, keep playing the sport, but in a different country and get to experience a different culture. And that's when the Potsdam Royals came calling. You got that opportunity to move over to them. So the last part of this video here, let's just talk about what your current, and that's not just something that's happened. That's something that's happening right now. You guys are right at the beginning of your season. You guys are 1-0 so far to start, right? You guys got another game here in a week or so. So you guys are 1-0 to start the season, and this is something that's happening right now for you. Can you talk about real quick here at the end of the video how that happened for you, how that opportunity to go keep playing this sport? Now you played in Japan, now you're in Germany. Can you talk about how that opportunity came about?
absolutely. You know, after Japan, I was just so proud to be an American and I did not want to leave America ever again. I was like, you know what? I've seen it all. I want to stay here for some time. I like it. Like I don't want to go nowhere. I'm fine to be here even if I don't play. I don't want to leave. I'm like very homesick. Like that's the first time I experienced real culture shock and real homesickness. Um, and so, you know, I was not going to go. Um, Coach here, David Saul, he had just been very persistent and consistent with me, talking to me all the time. And, you know, just felt like him and I's relationship just like really grew really fast. You know, he's not an older guy, he's a young guy. We relate to each other really well, and I feel like we balance each other out really well. And so, for me, all it took was like, yeah, I've never been to Europe in my life, and why not? You know, I just got back from Japan. Still feel like I have gas in the tank. Like, let's just go give it a shot and see what happens. And you know, as you can see, yeah, as we know, first season come here and you know we win the championship. I win MVP again, and I literally had the time of my life. And the decision to come back was pretty easy. It was just like, of course, I want to do all of that again. So yeah, that's sort of how it came about. It was the consistency from the coach and really just you know building a relationship rather than telling me about wins and losses and how much he's won and how much he's lost and etc. Like he just built a relationship. Didn't even really like try to seem like he was interested. And I was just like, yeah, all right, I'll go try it out. So
Well, Chase Baker, I recently had on the channel. He's working over for the NFL Academy in London, developing future athletes for the collegiate level there from Europe and all over the world, honestly. But he said recently that when we were talking about playing football in Europe, he said that Germany is the juggernaut of the European football spectrum. Like they're the place that if you want to go and play at a high level, you go and play at Germany for Europe. So can you talk a little bit about the differences, not necessarily between playing in Germany and playing in America, because obviously there's going to be some stark ones, but just difference between playing there versus playing in Japan. You know, what is the kind of those same questions we had the first round? You know, what is the general awareness? What's the game like? And especially when you're comparing it to playing internationally over in Asia.
oh yeah, I would say that one, they all can speak English for the most part. So that's a big difference. And then I would say the IQ level. You see a lot more complex offenses and defense like scheming. You see a lot more complex here rather than in Japan. It was pretty black and white as far as, schemes and formations and putting stresses on either offense or defense. So that's a big difference. I would say, Japan is still a little bit behind in terms of, football popularity, and as is Germany. Germany is too, but I would say, you know, it's more of on a spotlight here, just because of the marketing and the talent level. It's obviously not up to American talent, but at the same time, I mean, you've got some pretty good guys out here. There's a few, German players that have played NFL. So, um, there's good talent, good IQ, and you play long season. Japan, you only played 5 regular season games. Here, we've got 12 regular season. Then we've got 13, 14, 15 to the championship. So you're playing pretty much an entire NFL season. Um, yeah, I mean, play a lot of games, and IQ level is a little bit higher. The speed of the game, I would say, it's hard to judge just because um, the differences in IQs. Like here, you've got to play a little bit faster because defenses are adjusting fast, whereas in Japan, windows are probably opening a little bit slower because there's no fast adjustments or there's no disguising like anything like that. And so that's a little bit another difference. But other than that, I mean, like I said, man, it's just regular football, and you play the game and you have fun. And then another big difference here. Um don't know if you know, but they are heavily, heavily, heavily drinkers here, like alcoholic beer, etc. So I'm coming after last year, we had a Saturday practice, and coach is just like, yeah, we got you guys some beer. Just go ahead and grab one, grab two if you want, take it home. But enjoy your Saturday, guys. And yeah, and I'm like, wait, what? What? Coach is giving us beer? Like, are you kidding me? This is nuts. Or like, even in my championship game, like I had press conferences, and they're just bringing me beer after beer after beer. And I'm like, bro, I'm in the press conference. Like, what are you guys? But it's just that's the culture. Like it's the culture here. And it's as if somebody was just bringing me water in America. Like it's not even like nobody's even batting an eye. Everybody's just like, oh, it's normal. Okay, go ahead. Like very different than Japan. Or America at that. So that's something that's a big difference too. A lot of Americans that come here for the first time, they're all just like trying to hide their beers, and whenever they're drinking, I'm like, bro, you're in Germany. Like they look up to you when you drink beer. It's like it's funny, very funny. But yeah, that's just another big difference playing here in Germany too.
Well, I know exactly what you're talking about. So I last Blameyer last name, that's a German last name. So about
Okay. Yep.
4 or 5 generations ago, about like 1911 or something like that, my family came over here to America. So my family still has a lot of German cultural elements in them. So I absolutely know that the Blameyer family gatherings are a blast. I'm just going to say that.
Oh,
But
nice,
so
nice.
you said going over there to Germany, it's a different culture, not just the drinking, but also the fan environment. You talked a bit about that kind of very almost like golf clap element of Japan. Now over here, I'm sure it's a very different experience. Can you talk about playing in front of the German fans?
Yeah. So don't know if anybody has ever seen like a European soccer game, but the fans there, they literally go to the game to drink and to get loud and to cause ruckus. It's about the same, not as far as on a high level, but the fans here, they're gonna have their horns and drums, and they will play the entire game, and they will stand up the entire game, and they're going to be in the stands and be drunk and be loud. And I don't know, you told me you watched a few of my games. I'm sure you've heard it, like the horn the entire game, like um and they're diehard for whatever team it is. So for me, I have a mindset of like, all right, well, I'm not having them mad at me, so I better make sure that I do everything I can to get a win because they're not gonna come get this guy out of here. Like they're European fans are ruthless, and my last thing, I don't want them upset with me. I would say similar to some BSU fans. When things are going good, everybody's happy. Everybody loves everybody. When things are going bad, it starts to come the excuses and to get this guy out of here. And I don't want that to happen to me. So I'm like, let me do everything I can to play good. So we've only lost one time since I've been here. We have played very good talent. We just I try to prepare the entire team as a pro. I try to make sure that everybody is on their P's and Q's, including the coach. And it's a very player driven team. Yeah, we have a head coach, yeah, we have an offensive coordinator, but really the players run the team and we create our own schedule and we create our own culture of how we want this to be ran. And you can either buy into it or not. But it pays into our success here and it pays into why we won the championship last year. And, we're off to a good start this year. So super excited. And yeah, man.
Well, yeah, you guys are off to a great start this year. You've had 1 year under your belt, and it was a great year. Went to and won the German Bowl, was the game MVP there. And then this year, first start of the season, you guys are 1-0 to start. You threw for 361 yards, 22 of 28, and 6 touchdowns, and were Player of the Week to start. So, but right here at the end of the interview, can you talk about what's different this year for you coming in with a full season of experience under your belt? What's different for you and the team, and what are your expectations for this season?
Yeah, well, we've got a few new guys. So we've got to, get those guys aboard and get them bought in. I think also that's different is that I have a year under my belt, a year already with my same offensive coordinator. And so, that sort of chemistry that you would need in a first season is already there. So it helps me play more confidently. It helps him have more confidence in me. It helps me have more confidence in him. Um, but like last year, we've got a great group of guys. We're really young this year, but we've got young, really good talent. And it's just about, teaching them how we do things here, as far as the culture and what the expectation is and what our standard is. But other than that, it's still just football, and we are still here for a reason, and so that's pretty much the main gist of it.
Well, final question of the interview here. Just looking ahead, what's next for you? Are you still feel playing this sport for a while and kind of working your way through? What do you have any plans for the future, or what's looking ahead for you coming years?
Um, for me, I want to eventually, get into the financial business again. When that'll be, not sure. But I do want to eventually, get back into that financial world. And yeah, just my dream right now is to live in Texas at the beach and go fishing every day with doing my financial work as well. And so, but for me right now, I'm setting stuff up for my future, and until that gets completely in the works and in motion, there's a lot of work that I still have to do. But I'm just enjoying where my feet are at right now, and we'll see how the body's feeling after. And if I feel like I have more juice in the tank, of course, why not? I love Europe to death. If not, it'll be time to start my financial business that I actually have my own right now, that I've been running, but it's kind of tough right now during the season. But that's what I do in the off season, and that's what I want to pursue my career in. So sort of entrepreneurship type stuff.
Well, you're a diehard competitor. You have a true love for the game. You're incredibly well spoken. You've had all these incredible experiences that have built out your leadership and your knowledge of the game. Have you ever thought of maybe pursuing coaching or something like that?
I've had plenty of coaches reach out to me. As far as, Boise State coaches reach out and want me to come be a GA there. I could eventually, maybe one day, but I don't know. I'm more of a family guy. I want to be around my family, and those coaches, they work so hard, and I'm not afraid of hard work by any means, but they, um, really put a lot of time, and that's just if I were to go into coaching, that would be something that I would have to think about, and my partner would have to be okay with, and would have to be all right. This is the path that I'm going to go down. It could happen, but that's just like I said. That's one of the things that I would have to think about. Am I against it? I'm not against anything in the world. Nah, take that with a
Yeah,
grain of salt.
sure,
I'm
sure.
against some stuff. But yeah, no, I mean, who knows?
Well, whatever the next journey for you is, I'm sure that it's going to be incredible, that you're going to attack it with the right attitude that's going to bring out success. It's been awesome to watch your career progress through these exciting steps. Time at Boise State, I and every other Boise State fan loved watching you. Whenever something comes up on Twitter and they're asking, like, what's the kind of that player that wasn't like the Kellen Moore, but there's something that stands out in your mind. What's that player for you, one of your favorite guys? Your name's always coming up in that list. You were a fan favorite here, and it was because of your mentality, and not just your play on the field, but your character and your mentality that showed through. So you're doing incredible work in Germany. Like I said, 360 plus yards passing and 6 touchdowns is a crazy number to wrap that mind around. Incredible time watching you play in Germany. Every Boise State fan watching this video, make sure that you are going out and watching Jaylon and supporting him while he's playing for the Potsdam Royals and working their way towards championship. I'll put a link to their website where you can go and you can watch their games. Make sure you guys do that. It's great watch, especially in the off season when there's no other football going on. You get a chance to still have that football, feed that football element there. So thank you so much for coming on the channel. Thank you so much for being here and having this discussion. It was a great one, being able to talk to you about your time at Boise State and all the way throughout. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Thank you everyone for watching all the way to the end. Make sure you go watch the other videos that I've done here in the off season. There's a couple interviews with current players and transfers that are coming in. I'll have some more videos, hopefully, with that coming out throughout the rest of the year. But I've got a season previews that are going out right now. I had JL Skinner and Hunter White on to preview the defense recently, so make sure you watch that video. I had a video with Mike Sanford previewing the offense, and then I'm going to have Kyle Brotzman coming on to preview the special team. So make sure you like, subscribe. Make sure, again, that you go support and watch Jaylon while he is playing for the Potsdam Royals. Again, link for that is in the description. And all the other videos that I mentioned as well. So thanks, everybody, for being here. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Thank you, Jaylon, for setting up time to do this. Good luck the rest of the season. Once Bronco, always a Bronco. Thanks for being here, and thanks for your time at Boise State and time in this video.
Thank you. Bleed blue, baby.
Absolutely. Thanks everybody for watching all the way to the end. Like I said, like, subscribe, and as always, go Big Blue.